Welcome everyone, I am the Depressed Eeyore, and this is Labyrinth of Touhou, Gensokyo and the Heaven-Piercing Tree, also known as Labyrinth of Touhou 2. This game came out on Steam quite a while ago. I didn't even notice it came out, and I went ahead and picked it up. Anyone that's familiar with my channel knows I've played a number of Touhou games, and generally lean towards a lot of the fan-made Touhou RPGs. Back during that time, though, the only way to really get any of these games was to either know Japanese or essentially pirate it, which is fortunately what I had to do for a number of the games. Labyrinth of Touhou 2, I think, was one of the last games I quote-unquote pirated. But now that they've been coming out on Steam, I've been making an effort to buy them, and in the case of this game, I would like to actually replay it. This game does include the Plus disc. I know there were some comments towards the end of my Let's Play of this game asking if I was going to do the Plus disc, but around that time I was kind of just getting tired of the process of trying to figure out how to, get a hold of everything and then patch it myself and all that, and it was really just a huge pain. And there were plenty of other games to kind of keep me occupied, so eventually I just didn't really bother. I think I did get it installed, but I never really... by the time I did, I had lost my my saves and all that, so I didn't really want to go through a second time. The reviews for this game have been pretty much all positive. I think the biggest complaints were the about the fire level, which is infamous because it's a big giant puzzle, multi-floor puzzle and all that good stuff. But beyond that, supposedly the Plus disc is going to, of course, include new content and new characters, and it also has some quality of life stuff, which is kind of interesting. So it gives me more of a reason to go ahead and play through again. This game is a rather long game, and it does have a lot of reading and dialogue, especially in the beginning. So this introduction of the game is going to be pretty long, and there's also a lot of game mechanics which I may just talk about as I go. I haven't really decided a good way to do it, because honestly there's a lot of details to this game. This game plays very similar to the Etrian Odyssey games, so very much like a dungeon crawl. In this game it even has FOEs. But like overall, compared to the first game, which unfortunately is not on Steam, but Labyrinth of Touhou 1 does not really have any story relevance carried over to the other game, or this game rather, and it's overall just kind of an improvement in every aspect. So the only reason you would play Labyrinth of Touhou 1 is just to kind of see the story, because it's a lot more limited compared to this game. Anyway, let's go ahead and dive in, because this intro is going to be long. Gensokyo, Human Village, Main Street. It's currently 9 in the morning. It's usually around this time that the people are the most busy, and the village gets more and more active, but lately this place has felt really empty. Isn't this supposed to be the main street? I think everyone's too scared to leave their house. Oh well, that's fine, right? We can just eat dumplings while sitting on the storefront since there are so few people. Yeah, since we're a bit early for the meeting time, we can do that while waiting. The dumplings they make here are really delicious. I know, right? So we should eat them quickly before the others get here. The meeting point was a dumplings shop facing the village's main street, and so the two girls ate without a care in the world as they waited for the others. The rainy season was at its end, and the blistering heat was flickering as the early summer season began. Yet the main street was bereft of residents and their liveliness. The whole village was wrapped in a chilling atmosphere unbefitting of the current season. This atmosphere is fine with me, better than the heat at least. Yep, this summer looks like it's going to be pretty cool this year. I won't have to go cool myself at Corin's place. You treat your house like a storeroom and barely give it any ventilation. That's why it's so hot in there, even though the forest it's in helps block the sun's rays. Whatever, who cares? Ah, but it's refreshing. It's cool and peaceful. Peace is good. Everybody says so. Does this village really look peaceful to you? Oh, hello, Keine. There's still some time before our appointment. Look at that. Nothing else could scream incident more than that. It's frightening everyone. You need to do something about it quickly. An incident? What do you mean? I can't see anything at all. Anyways, one more dumpling, please. Of course you're not going to see it while your eyes are glued to the food down there. Look up and tell me again you cannot see it. No thanks, I'm fine. The dumpling I have in my mouth might get stuck in my throat. Just shut up and look. Gah. Kien grabbed... I don't know if it's pronounced Keine or Kien, so I may end up alternating. Kien grabbed Melissa's dumpling stuffed face and forced her to look up. With her face forcefully lifted up, Marissa can see an out-of-this-world massive tree calmly rooted in the distance. An outlandish, towering tree was piercing through the clouds, its leaves and branches growing outward in order to create a maze of floors. A great tree's size was so ridiculous that anyone who raised their head even slightly couldn't help but see it. The tree had suddenly appeared in Kinsokia around 3 days ago. It appeared suddenly in the Forest of Magic, with no clues as to the cause. Even now, it continues to grow, slowly but surely, obscuring the daylight to Kinsokyo and creating an ever-growing curtain of darkness. Do you see it now? I got it already, thank you very much. A big tree like that isn't something to laugh at. But hey, when looking at something that big, you really can't help thinking about human life, right? You aren't even bothered by it. It'll be fine if it just disappeared in a day or two, but it is not likely something that massive will simply disappear if we leave it alone. The villagers are starting to get frightened by that tree. Furthermore, such a large obstacle to the light will eventually have a detrimental effect on the hearts of the yokai living in the village. Don't you agree? It's also bad for the growth of the plants. In fact, a portion of the crops and flowers that were planted in the fields and the village outskirts have already begun to wither away. It is not difficult to imagine that if we leave the tree alone, things are only going to get worse. Ain't it good, though? We get a cool and sunlight-free summer in return, and you can take the opportunity to mass-produce bean sprouts. This girl. The Were Hakutaku, who set up an elementary school in the human village, took anything that would threaten its peace very seriously. And so Kien raged on about how we were going to find the cause of this great tree today, and Reimu and Marissa were forcefully dragged into it. Well, I was also saying to myself it's about time to investigate the great tree. The timing is perfect, I would say. Is that so? Reimu, haven't you been poking your nose into the thieving uproar that happened at Korin's place recently? Are you done with that already? Of course not. There's no way we can leave something as ridiculous as the Ame no Murakumo being stolen alone, don't you agree? But no matter how I looked and searched for the criminal, they didn't leave a single trace. Wait a minute, what are you talking about? Let me see, Korindo, was it? A thief broke into that antique store. Was that in the Ame no Murakumo about? This is all news to me. I should probably give an explanation for that. Renazuki Morichika, a half-human, half-yokai hybrid who runs an antique shop located at the border of the Forest of Magic. He was the last of the four of this meeting. And if you may have noticed, a lot of these names are Japanese or Eastern related, so I may mispronounce things. Oh my, Renazuki. You're pretty late. The last to show up, in fact. No, I'm right on time. I should be neither too early nor too late for any appointment. Being late is obviously out of the question, while being early makes the other person worry too much about whether they should have come early too. Yes, your opinions really matter to us. So, what were you saying about a thief? It is as they say, a thief broke into my shop. As you may know, my shop sells items that came here from the outside world. There are also some other small and rare articles that are not for sale and that I keep for my personal collection. The value of the Ame no Murakumo that was stolen around a week ago really stood out from the rest. The great tree grew just a few days ago, and the theft happened a bit before that. Well, we didn't know that Renazuki had such a thing in his possession. If it is true, there's no way we can leave such an artifact alone. Ame no Murakumo, huh? Wait, the Ame no Murakumo? No, wait a minute. Are you sure it's the authentic one? This isn't the time to talk about its value. This is the most famous and powerful sword in Japanese lore. Most of all, how were you able to get an artifact like that? It's the first time I've heard about a relic like this being in Kinsokyo. Wasn't this heirloom enshrined in worship somewhere in the outside world? Oh, Kien didn't know about it after all. Me too. I'm really interested to hear how you found that sort of thing, Korin. Trade secrets. I can't possibly say where I found it, especially not to Marissa, since I kind of tricked her into giving it to me. Well, no, it's not really tricking Marissa, since she didn't know it was the Ame no Murakumo. In the first place, I'm the one who wants to know where she discovered that. Once in a while, her hobby of accumulating trash pulls up some unbelievable treasures. That's how I was able to get it off her hands for dirt cheap. Well, whether or not that sword is the genuine Ame no Murakumo handed down from ancient times, it was definitely made of pure scarlet gold, and it was undoubtedly an extremely powerful sword. Of that I am certain. After hearing that story, I started looking for the Ame no Murakumo and its thief, but up till now, the culprit remains at large. Huh. I see. So while you were searching for your thief, that great tree sprouted forth and caused an even bigger uproar. That's how it is. Incidentally, Reimu also mentioned that she had a feeling that the culprit was in that great tree. Really? Well, Reimu's intuition is generally right in times like this. Well, we can't leave that tree alone anyway, right? So I figured since Kei-ne was being annoying enough to call at this meeting as well, that it was time to investigate that great tree and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And that's how we decided to include Korin in our exploration of that tree. After all, it's his fault for keeping it quiet about the sword and not securing it well enough. It's clearly the thief who's at fault. I'm the victim here. And really, I'm not even suited for fighting. I'm certainly expecting nothing from you in battle, but there's a strength in numbers when walking around a big tree like that, don't you think? So in short, he's making up the numbers. You don't have declared that to everyone, you beast. I don't want to go. And so, I'll give this our best. Onwards and upwards. Oh. When starting a new game, you can set the difficulty to hard mode. In hard mode, library levels cannot go over character level times 1.2, and the character level cannot go over the level of any bosses you fight. Because of these restrictions, boss battles will become tougher. If you choose to set the game on hard mode, then the restrictions can only be removed by defeating the main game's last boss. There's no other way to lower the difficulty. Do you want to start the game in hard mode? I'm going to say no, but I will probably make an effort to be within the level range of the bosses. Compared to the first game, this game does... a majority of the boss icons will give you it will actually show a level number, and that kind of shows you what general range you want to be at when fighting the boss. But I do reserve the right to grind if I feel like I'm having difficulty. This game's generally pretty good about it, though. You can usually just fight the bosses as normal. There's only a few of them that are really nasty, particularly towards the end. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and just stay at normal. Okay, so with that, we have even more introductions to do. Each of these locations has dialogue in it on the first visit, so we're going to be going through all of them. We do start with a party of 4, but the actual party size in these games is 12. You have 4 in the front row, and then you have 8 back rows. At any point during a battle, if all 4 front row slots are empty due to defeats or whatever, then you will lose the battle even if you have a back row still alive. So that's something to be aware of. This game's one of the primary mechanics in this game is to be switching characters in and out between the front row and the back row. There's definitely a number of different strategies you can do with it, though one of the most common ones is just to have some very tanky characters in the front, aka I guess by front I mean from left to right. It's very much like Final Fantasy rules, where the further to the left you are, the more often you'll be targeted. Also, any sort of line-based AoEs will do more damage to the left side than the right side. And then, of course, there's mass AoEs, which does generally equal damage to everyone in the front row. But essentially, some strategy you may want to do is have 2 tanky characters here, with one character possibly doing some support skills, and then using the rest of these other 2 characters for like DPS, and just swapping them with other DPS characters that are available. With only 4 characters, of course, our options are kind of limited. There's a lot of cool things in this game. There's equipment. You have a main equipment slot, and then you have 3 sub-equipments. These will affect your stats and do all sorts of fancy things. We have items, which generally are going to be your equipments, but you also have, in this game, there's actually crafting. You can get materials, you can use those to craft certain items. And then you have special items, which can be things like keys and things that you can use for upgrades and other things. There's a lot of ways to upgrade characters in this game, so quite a bit to go through. Also in this game has the skill system, where you have certain skills that you can use. Some of them will introduce new mechanics to the character, and then some of them are just flat-out stat increases. You may notice that some skills are locked, and you actually have to use a certain item to unlock them. So a number of characters will have only certain access to certain things. So you can see, yeah, like for example, Marissa has access to speed boost, but not HP boost. And then of course you got characters like Renezuki here, who has like a bunch of things unlocked. And then a lot of these will be things like your spell cards. The higher level you bring those up, the more powerful they are. And then there's a lot of passives that can do some unique things. Some of them have certain synergies with other characters. Like for example, main character Marissa will let's see, if there are more than 5 KO'd characters, each turn Marissa gets a bonus. There's one which is trying to remember what it is. Did they actually change it? They might have. Yeah, there used to be one where it was like specifically if she was with Marissa, but they may have changed that with the plus disc. Whenever they do expansions for the Labyrinth of Touhou games, they sometimes actually just flat out change certain. They'll rebalance certain things or fix things that are broken. Oh yeah, here's one. So yeah, for Kei-ne here, if she was with Moko, which Moko is not with us, she would actually get just a raw increase in stats if you happen to have this leveled up. There's a max level for some of these skills, which can definitely influence a number of things. Generally, what's usually advised is you generally want to try to get certain passives active as soon as possible, depending on the character, and then kind of go from there. So for this one, I'm actually going to go ahead and just spend a few for Renezuki here. The only thing that Renezuki is really good at is his passives. He does have some support, but they're very, very weak. And he can kind of tank some hits, but he really falls off. He's not really someone you take for combat. You usually will take him just for these 2 passives, because as long as he's in the party, even if he's not in the front row, you'll still get a reduced benefit from these things, which will increase drop rates and money rate, which is really important, because you definitely want both to get as much bang for your buck whenever you're doing combats, because there's going to be lots of combat. So for the sake of this, I'm just going to up his drop rate, and that's it. I don't know if there's anything. Yeah, majority of the passives tend to require like 5 points or more, so we're not going to be messing with these for some time. Also, I don't really know what sort of party I'm going to be going with. I'll probably try to use certain characters that I didn't use in the previous run, but it's been so long I may just use whoever. Anyway, so with all that said, just for... You generally want to do that for the formation, because these 2 characters are much tankier than these 2 characters. There's a lot to go over for some of these characters. Just to put in simplicity, Marissa is a single element type character that uses only mystic damage. And she's essentially just DPS. She does a lot of magic damage. Of course, she has her Master Spark, which is does a lot of damage but eats up a lot of her MP. Reimu has some decent spirit damage, but she is a hybrid type, where she actually her damage formula takes into account both attack and magic stats. She also has a number of she has some group buffs and group heals that can make her stand out. Renezuki, like I mentioned before, doesn't really do much of anything. He has a very weak heal, and then I think he has a very weak buff that does all stats, but it's very, very small. And then Keine here has she does have... Can I look at this? There it is. She does have some offensive skills. She has some that are... She has a direct spell and a spirit spell that both are mass attack that use magic damage. But really what stands out for her is she has a buff that affects the entire front row with attack and magic, and one for defenses. Her buffs are a little bit more potent. She's also one of the few characters that can actually buff attack and magic in the early game. So you usually don't use her for offense, you usually use her for buffing. So once we actually have a proper tank, she'll usually go in the second slot and be used for just pure buffing. Yeah, this one raises all stats, and then Reimu here has... yeah, she has a buff that does defense in mind. And then Marissa does have a buff, but it's only for herself. It increases her magic. So generally the idea is towards the later in the game when she actually has enough MP to actually use Master Spark, what you would do with her is you spend her turns doing like concentration and swapping her in and out to do concentration until she's maxed as high as possible, and then blast them with Master Spark, which does tons of damage and does even more damage if you spend even more MP. Like, no matter what, it uses up all of her MP. Anyway, so with that rambling done, let's talk about more rambling. So let's go ahead and go through each of these. Like I said, this first video is going to be a bit long, but it'll at least get the intro out of the way. Aha! With a tree that big, I was worried that its roots or leaves might trash up the shrine. Seems like there wasn't much to worry about, though. The donation box is empty as always, too. Nothing out of the ordinary at all. Well, when this kind of abnormal situation happens, donating to the shrine is hardly high on anyone's list of immediate priorities. Really? Is that really the only reason? What are you trying to say? Nothing, really. Anyways, why are we here at the shrine? Do we have something to do here? No, there's not really anything to do here at the moment. We should just come back after we exterminate monsters within that tree and accumulate experience. Then we can level up and distribute bonus points, however obtained from leveling up towards any parameter we want here. Also, if we want to use any special items we find within the tree on a character, here's where we do it. Well, that's for later. For now, just think of the shrine as a place for level ups and bonus point distribution. Why, thank you so much for the explanations. Well, I'm the main character. It's expected of me to do this. So what? I'm a main character too. Shall we stop this line of conversation? So yeah, there's definitely a fourth wall breaking. There's definitely references to other media and games as well in these types of games, which are rather entertaining if you know them. Anyway, so as mentioned, this is all about leveling up. You gain experience from fighting monsters, but they do not immediately apply to level ups. You actually have to go back to the shrine here and spend the experience to level up. Now what's really nice is you can actually, in this game, you can actually de-level characters. You couldn't do this in the previous game, and so if you ever over-leveled and made the game too easy, there was nothing you can really do about it. But in this game, you can actually de-level characters down to a certain level, which can definitely help out. You can also do level unification, which will make sure that everyone is set to a certain party average, which can definitely help, keep you within whatever level limits you want to put on yourself. And then there's the mention of special items. These things can do a variety of things. Like, I don't remember if it's done here, but I think like anything that increases stats, I think can be used here. I don't know if there's some that also can unlock subclasses, but I'm not sure if it's used here or not. We'll find out soon. Also, every time you level up, you get a bonus point. And essentially the bonus points, I guess you can say they're kind of like maybe EVs or something like that from Pokemon. Like every point you put into will just make it so you grow a little bit faster in those particular stats. Naturally, each of the characters kind of have their own growth rates for their certain stats. So, for example, Rinazuki, like I mentioned, is rather physically weak and not very well. He's not good at combat at all. If you try to upgrade his like attack stat or something with level up bonuses, you're not going to get that much of a benefit from it compared to maybe leveling up magic on Marissa. Same thing for like Keine here. If you can upgrade her magic, but her magic does not go up anywhere near the same rate as Marissa's. So eventually, even if you level them up the same rate and give them the same bonuses, the differences will gradually show more and more. Alright, so that is that. Magic Library. This place is always super moldy every time I come. I figured you would be coming any time now. Oh, that voice is... From me. It's my library, so it shouldn't be a surprise, right? Incidents don't get much more obvious than that, so I figured it was about time the firefighters from Kinsokia started to act. If you know about it, then just help us somehow... Sorry, I'm having trouble reading here. If you know about it, then just help us somehow already. Just giving us some ancient spellbooks or some strong magic items. We'd welcome those with open arms. You really don't beat around the bush, do you? Oh, really? Well, fine. Let's see. I'll raise your stats for you. Ooh, that's good. Alright, go ahead. Make it a big one. Stat. You said I'll do it for free. Honestly, I'm not taking your money for nothing either. This kind of thing requires a lot of items and medicines. I'm just charging you for the materials. So basically, we pay money here to get stronger. Yes, indeed. So earn all you can, and keep the money coming, if you would. So yeah, as mentioned before, You can reset skills. Yeah, for the characters here, I don't know if it requires an item. It does not require an item. That's helpful. But yeah, here you can spend money to increase stats. So just like I mentioned before with the bonus points, each character's how much you get a benefit of certain stats depends on the character. Also, the cost to upgrade certain stats is also based off the character. So, for example, not only would increasing attack on Marissa be not very useful, as you can see, it doesn't even show an increase of the stat. Like, if you look below, you can see magic will increase by 1 point if I leveled up right now. I do have 100 money if I want to spend it. But if I were to upgrade attack right now, it would actually not increase it at all. And the upgrade cost would probably skyrocket. Very quickly, in fact. Also, not only is there stats to increase, but you can also increase resistances. You can increase all elemental resistances. Again, each character has their own unique levels of resistance, as well as how well they can increase it. So even characters that are like vulnerable to maybe like fire or something, you can try to upgrade their fire resistance, but more likely it's not going to increase that much, and it's going to be very, very expensive to do so. So in most cases, you'll probably want to rely on items to mitigate such weaknesses, and kind of just go from there. There's also status resistances. There are essentially 8 status effects. There are 9 status effects in this game. 2 of which are instantaneous and are not long-lasting. One of them being shock, which will reduce your ATB bar by half. And then there's instant death, which of course will just kill you. And then there's a bunch of debuffs. There's silence. Oh, sorry, no, there are only 8 status effects. Sorry. So yeah, there's shock and instant death, and then there's a bunch of the kind of the standard ones. There's poison, paralysis. There's terror, which I don't remember what it does, and then there's also heavy. I know heavy I think affects speed. Terror I think affects certain stats, but I don't remember off the top of my head. Silence, of course, prevents you from using spell cards, which is pretty significant in this game. And then there's the debuffs, which of course affect all your. There's debuffs specific to each of the stats, like speed and attack and so forth. I don't think there's one for HP. But yeah, so that's kind of the general gist of it. We're not going to upgrade any stats at the moment. We're just going to go raw. And I don't remember. I think if you do a skill reset, it does reset all of your stat points and I'm not sure what it would do. It might reset your level up bonuses, but I don't really remember. I don't really reset stats too often. Anyway, enough of that. Human village. We're back in the village again, huh? As I thought, the villagers here are more restless than usual. Of course, you two are the only ones who can remain calm, or rather be excited about this situation at all. Normal people aren't that strong. And we're the type of humans who solve these incidents. The ways of the world works well if you think about it. Anyway, it's been a long while since I was able to take a casual walk around the village. It sure has changed a lot everywhere. We've walked on the outskirts for quite a bit, but there are still lots of food and lodging facilities around here. A long while from you is probably from several decades ago. Really, you have yokai in your lifespans. Ugh, she realized it. Well, whatever you say. From the looks of the village, there really are lodging facilities popping up everywhere. Well, yeah, with this kind of obvious incident going on, there wouldn't be anyone who'd be taking a faraway trip or anything. What about it? From what I have heard, there are a lot of humans and yokai that have entered the tree. If we continue to explore the tree, perhaps we'll find others who will help your exploration. As your party gets bigger, we need a place to gather everyone around. With the amount of lodging facilities in the village, we should be able to get a pretty good price on staying at one for a while. If we make use of that, we should be able to accommodate for quite a number of people. Eh, really? I thought that corn out of the store would be like a cap out of water. That's really well thought out. I'm seeing you in a new light now. I can't tell if you're complimenting me or insulting me. Well, I guess I'll just treat it as a compliment this time. Though honestly, I got all the gold from Marissa's father. And permission to use their good name to get a large discount, but Marissa probably wouldn't stand for this kind of thing. I'll just pretend it's all thanks to me. Alright, so yeah, here you can do things like unequip gear, change members, set up favorite teams, and things like that. Personally, when I usually play this game, I usually just make one team and gradually change it, and never really make set teams for certain bosses. Alright, Netery's Workshop. Welcome! Welcome! Mercy, you got a paper fan? I don't have one. There's none for sale either. Guess this wrench will have to do. Are these friends normal for trying to greet my customers courteously? The human village sure is a scary place. These are the only humans who do something like that, so relax. But this is surprising. I've never heard of a Kappa workshop in the village before. But of course! I started this shop just now. With a fun-looking tree popping out of nowhere like that, there must be a lot of humans exploring it. For those of them who are not used to fighting, they'll flock to my workshop in search of all sorts of goods. How's that? Perfect plan, right? Very perfect plan. Except there aren't a lot of humans exploring that tree. Eh? You're kidding, right? You're obviously using Rainbow and Marissa as your base for human behavior. Normally humans are too scared to get anywhere close to that thing. Now I don't feel like doing anything. I'll just close the shop and go back. Hey, don't worry about it. We're just the right customers for you, so make sure you prepare the best for us. A workshop whose only customers are the dirt-poor shrine maiden and her companions. My store is already looking bleak from the first day. Alright, so here you can actually buy equipment. There's actually not very much equipment here, and you're probably not going to buy any of it. This stuff is generally pretty easy to find, especially in the early game. And then there's main equipment, which also, some of it you will actually might buy, just for quest requirements, but for the most part, you're never going to really buy anything from this place. There are some other things that Nidori can do, but for right now, this is all. Also, all of the items in this game have descriptions, so we'll go ahead and go through all of them while we're at it. Actually, we'll do it as I loot them. That'll make it easier. So I'll worry about that later. Anyway, Kien School. It's nice that we're looking around Kien School, but there's nothing to do here. I could ask what the heck you two are doing here too. Yeah, we're here for the same reason, or for some reason. There's nothing interesting going on in the school for you, or perhaps you want to study. No. I don't want to teach you two either. What do you do here normally? Well, it's a school, so normally I teach here. Otherwise, I thought of compiling a summary on all the monsters inside the Great Tree. It'll be useful if they ever get out of the tree, though I doubt that'll happen. So basically, if we want to look at the bestiary, we can come here. Why, thank you for the direct translation. Alright, so this thing has the bestiary, which right now I actually have no monsters for, so I can't even look in it. Going through the bestiary can be kind of useful, just so you can, if you're ever looking for certain materials or certain item drops, you can go through the bestiary to see if you can find out anything about it. Then you have achievements. This game does include some new achievements because of the Plus Disc, and some of them will give you some. So some of them will show what you need to do exactly, and then there's some that the conditions are unclear. Needless to say, there are achievements for just about everything in this game: battles, escaping, being defeated, playing for tons of hours, getting equipment, getting level ups, getting money, spending money, fighting FOEs, fighting bosses, there's achievements for everything here. And some of these will be they'll give you various rewards, including some characters that may or may not be hidden within these. Alright, and then there's plus achievements. Okay, so the plus achievements are in here. I didn't even look at these. Play for 256 hours. Luckily, I will not be recording all of those hours if I do that. Yeah, so there's quite a bit here. Alright. And then we have the Great Tree, which will send us to the dungeon, and then we have Akiu's house. Excuse us, we're coming in, Akiu. Hey, Akiu, you here? Yes, hello. May I help you? We're thinking of exploring that tree a little from now on, so we were wondering if you had any information to share about it. Akiu, do you know anything about that thing? I don't know much. At the very least, it's not something already well known, like the cycle of the number of ghosts increasing every 60 years. I guess we'll have to do some actual legwork to know about that thing. By the way, I'd be happy if you can resolve this incident too. That thing is blocking the sun's light, and I don't want to catch cold. So I'll help in what little way I can. If that thing keeps growing, the village won't be getting any sunlight at all soon. Please do something about it before that happens. We'll take whatever help you can give. What can you do for us? At the very least, I'll help with what I'm good at. I'll make a record of your explorations. A record? That's it? My, exploration records are important, especially in RPGs. What do you mean by that? Who knows? But if you're not satisfied with just that, well, fine, I'll give you this too. Obtain a special item. Treasure chest key. What's this? It's a key to open locked treasure boxes in that tree. Since I can't fight in there, I really have no use for this, so I'll give it to you. Yay, there's treasure chest, huh? Now that gets me excited. However, it seems this key disappears after you use it once. Since it's not reusable, please consider your options carefully before using it. It disappears after using it once. How does that even work? Who knows? Alright, so here we can save our game. I'll make a save here. Alright. And then we can, of course, load data and all that good stuff. Alright, we did get our first item, so let's go ahead and read it. A key occasionally found within the Great Tree, designed to open chests that requires keys. Note that it disappears upon use. So yeah, throughout the game there are chests, and some of those chests may be locked, and they can be opened with treasure chest keys. Usually, especially in the early game, you're going to run into a number of locked chests that you do not have enough keys for. But for the most part, at least from the base game, you should be able to get enough keys to unlock all the chests. Just through progression, or exploration. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and dive into this. We're going to go do some of the intro stuff for this place, and then we'll call it. Alright, so as we progress through the game, there's going to be a number of checkpoints. For right now, all our options is return to Gensokyo, and then there's the floor 1. So we'll be doing that. The root of Gensokyo's Great Tree. So this is the inside of the Great Tree. Greenery seems to stretch out forever. A forest within a tree. I suppose it wouldn't be too odd to find a small forest growing inside such a huge tree, but actually seeing it with your own eyes, it feels like all I can do is shake my head and laugh. I bet I'll have a stupid grin on my face for the next 3 days when I remember this before I go to bed. Really, for me it's all so normal that it's kind of disappointing. Yep, you find one mysterious super huge plant, get all fired up and go inside, and all that's waiting for you is a forest with a lot of soil and grass. For something that makes no sense from the outside, what's inside it makes way too much sense. It would have been better if there was a place with boiling magma or some space-like atmosphere, or something else appropriately crazy. Spare me from that, please. Rainbow and Marissa are, how do I put this, extremely experienced with incidents. Their perspective is much different from ours. As the bastions of common sense, we'll have to do our best to keep them in line. I don't mind if you want to be a bastion, but you better be as helpful as one in battle. Huh. I was just temporarily overawed by the sight of this place. Of course I'd be helpful in battle. My skill is nothing to scoff at. My skill is plenty to scoff at, and I doubt I'll be anything more than a liability. Can I go home now? No. Nah. You, a grown man, want to leave behind frail and defenseless young ladies in return by yourself. What a heartless person you are. Who exactly qualifies as frail and defenseless young lady here? What are you trying to insinuate? Nothing. You're reading too much into it. Come on, Kien. Stop glaring at him so we can get started. And here we are. We're at the beginning. And I do fully explore all these floors because I like doing that. And I'm pretty excited to play this game again. And as I mentioned before, this game's a long game. So this will probably keep me busy for some time. But I'm going to go ahead and call it here. I am the Depressed Eater. This is Labyrinth of Touhou. I'll see you guys in a bit.